So welcome once again. Really great to have you in here for the evening. Strap yourselves in, you're in for a bit of a ride. We've got some of Aotearoa's finest creative educators joining us tonight. This first session, we'll be hearing about design and fine arts, so don't be shy. Fire your questions at us. And I'd like to introduce you to the indefatigable design kaihapai, Astrid. Welcome, and over to you, Astrid.
Kia ora. Thanks for the introduction, Barb. I'm Astrid Visser. I'm the design kaihapai here at Massey University. I used to be a high school teacher, so I taught art, design and technology. So I really understand a lot about what happens at high school. And my role is all about helping transition you from high school through into the School of Design and sharing stories about what's happening in the School of Design. So I'm just going to share my presentation with you, and I look forward to taking your questions at the end. Cool. So within the School of Design, we have a number of what we call majors. So visual communication design is our biggest major. That one, if you're doing art design at school, if you want to be a graphic designer, an illustrator, that might be a pathway that you're interested in. It also goes into user experience design, web design, app design, board game design even. So lots happening in visual communication design. We have fashion design and we also have textile design. And some people get a little bit confused about what the difference is between those. So with fashion, we've got fashion's more about making the garment and the collection. And some of our graduates even go on show at New Zealand Fashion Week as well. I'm going to show you some of our facilities from fashion a little bit later as well. So, and I'm going to go into textile design in a bit more depth as well, because textile design can be about the print and the structure, and it doesn't even have to do with the fashion industry often as well. We have industrial design, and I'm going to show you through some of our amazing facilities for industrial. But if you're interested in product design, if you love DVC at school or woodwork or metalwork, that might be a pathway you're interested in. You can see a spatial design example on my presentation here. So up the top, that architectural looking design up the top there is a spatial design student work. So I often get asked what the difference between spatial design and architecture is. So our spatial design program, you're not doing the physics and the math side of things. You're not designing full buildings usually. Often it's a brief like an existing warehouse or an existing school that's having a new fit out inside. You might be doing a shop interior. You might be doing a game space or a futuristic environment or a new shopping mall. So yeah, the briefs are a little bit different for architecture and spatial design, and I'll show you some spatial design work soon. Photography is also a major in the Bachelor of Design, and Raul's also probably going to talk about photography a bit later because it also sits within the School of Art. We've got concept design, which is one of our new majors, which is all about building worlds for the game and film industry, which has been really popular. And we've also got integrated design. So if lots of those different disciplines sound really interesting and you think, actually, I want to be able to build a degree where I'm doing bits of those. So for example, you might have heard about majors and minors before. Some people might say, I want to do a minor in textile design or a minor in concept design. What we have is integrated design, and that's where you might major in fashion, but have a bit of learning happening in industrial design, for example. So here's an example that you might know about. Has anyone heard about Allbirds the shoes? You can tell Barbara in the chat if you have, or you love them, or your mum wears them. Allbirds were designed by a duo, but Tim Brown is one of our graduates who was part of that team. So Tim studied industrial design with us. But today, if Tim was coming to us saying, I want to be a shoe designer, we might recommend that he does integrated design because he's going to need the workshop. He's going to want all those 3D modeling skills, but he's also going to want knowledge from the textile industry. Allbirds are made from New Zealand merino wool, but they've got to be durable for the foot. So there's a lot of engineering that goes into that textile. He might also need to know a bit about the fashion industry, production lines internationally, fashion marketing as well. So if you're interested in a discipline that kind of crosses boundaries, then integrated might be a way to go. Cool, so I'm just going to run you through some of our facilities. So this is our beautiful purpose-built building for visual communication design. So you can see multifunctional spaces, the desks move out of the way, lots of presentation areas. Our students do really long hours, so there's this area to make your coffee and hang out, little breakout areas. And visual communication design, you can see they've got the Macs here as well, so there's software there for you to use. There's computers there for you to use, and you get a swipe card to this building. So our students have access till 11 o'clock at night, and around deadline time, they've got access till 1 AM. So you've got plenty of access to the resources that you need. I just thought I'd show you some visual communication design work because people tend to understand posters and logos and websites, and that all of that sits under visual communication design. But I just thought I'd show you this project by Harmony Repia. So Harmony, she created this PO as part of her master's project in visual communication design. And this is actually a tsunami warning system. So it might look like a beautiful light, but these are actually designed to be down the main street in Gisborne. Kia ora to anyone from Gisborne who's tuning in. And the idea behind these PO is when a tsunami warning comes in, if anyone got that warning on their cell phone a few months ago, that civil defence example, when that warning comes through from civil defence, these light up and go green and ominous, and that's that warning for everyone in Gisborne to head for the hills. And the reason Harmony designed this is she was worried that people in her community didn't necessarily have a smartphone and weren't going to get that warning. She was worried about families without cars, and she also designed this with her community, so the narratives and the patterns she's used all relate to local narratives around Taniwha, for example. One area I'm really passionate about is textile design, and I know there's a lot of people interested, a lot of printmakers and painters here, and lots of people don't think about textile design as a pathway you can go down. So this is a project by Susanna. She's a graduate from the year before last, and Susanna is a refugee, and she decided to come to New Zealand and she wanted to create a camouflage for herself. So she's looked at New Zealand plants, flora and fauna, and animals from New Zealand, and she's created this camouflage design. And so we have papers in wallpaper design and repeat printmaking. So you can see that backdrop that she has there. She's printed that all herself, and she's also printed the fabric. So she screen printed the t-shirt, and then she's also digitally embroidered this pattern into the trousers. So this is based on a traditional Slovak design, but then she's put in kowhai flowers and fantails and created this unique kind of synergy of her Slovak traditions and also her new New Zealand home. So it can be really about surface. It's a real surface design textile project. I also thought I'd show you this project by Carissa. So the little animation here of her cardi. So textile design is a really cool place for your interest in sustainability. So this garment by Carissa can be worn in multiple ways. The weaving down the front, it can be rearranged, so you can unthread that, weave it in different ways. If you get a stain in one area or you tear it, you can reweave that to hide that tear or that stain and keep that garment going for longer. So obviously we need to be wearing our clothes for longer, we need to be buying fewer items and loving those items and wearing them. So that's how Carissa has approached textile design. There's also some images on the side here from a project by Julia Hope that she did last year, where she actually made dye using the algal blooms that are caused by the fashion industry. So our fashion industry actually causes 10% of our world carbon footprint, and often that has a big impact on the ocean as well, all of the dyes, all the dye runoff. So yeah, it's a really interesting project to address an issue and create a really positive outcome. So it's a really interesting, slightly sciencey space you can work in. Facilities are really cool for textiles too. So we've got big screen printing tables, lots of weaving, yeah, all sorts of different amazing facilities, digital knitting machines. It's a really exciting place. Concept design, it's all about creating worlds and characters for the game, film and TV industry, like I said before. But it can also be costumes, it can be vehicles, it can be 3D models, it can be more drawing based. And we have some amazing tutors in that program who have worked on Lord of the Rings and Weta, who've started their own animation companies. Tanya Marriott, who runs this program, is an internationally recognised doll maker. She also has the largest collection of My Little Ponies in the Southern Hemisphere. So you end up with some really quirky, interesting tutors. Fashion. So here are some of our facilities in fashion. This is taught in the old museum building. So this used to be the National Museum, and it's up on the hill right in Wellington. If you know Wellington, at the top of Cuba Street, we've got our halls, and then just up from there we have Pukeahu Park and the National War Memorial, and there sits the museum building. It's a really grand space. If you've ever watched Project Runway, it's totally got that same vibe in there. There's people frantically cutting and pattern making and sewing and pressing. It's all go in fashion. Facilities. So we have an amazing 3D workshop. We're also New Zealand's oldest design school. So the cool thing about being old is it means we've got all of this old technology around. And that might not sound very useful, but actually a lot of it's been hacked in really interesting ways. So we're doing a lot of interesting crossovers between old traditional processes and digitizing those. But we also have all of the latest tech as well. You can see our CNC router in the top image here. You can see some laser cutting. So we span all of these different modes of making. And our 3D workshop is available to all of our design students. It is used really heavily by our industrial design students, but it's a space for everyone, and there's amazing technical support in there as well. As you can see, here's some more shots in the 3D workshop and some product design students working. You might notice there's a lot of girls in these shots. Traditionally, those workshop subjects, you might think that it might be a bit boy heavy, but actually 60% of our industrial design graduates are female these days. So don't feel like you're going to be in a class full of boys. The ladies are rocking industrial design. Spatial design. So spatial design, like I showed you a digital space in one of my first slides. Our students are also making models. So they might be laser cutting, they're hand making, and you can see some architectural kind of projects happening here. Another project that's quite often done is revisiting a space. So it might be a space that has a problem. Like we have a great hall that's this big, expansive, open hall, and the acoustics are absolutely terrible in it at Massey. And so we don't get to use that space as often as we'd like to. So it's a challenge that our students can actually address and think about solutions that are going to be both visually interesting, they're going to have a great use of the space, and they're going to solve those acoustic issues or other problems that we might find with existing buildings. They're really great skills in spatial design. It's also really cool if you're interested in architecture, but you're not so into the maths and physics side of it. You're into the model making and the drawing, and you might be into interiors and that sort of thing. Spatial design might be a path for you. Photography. So again, being an old institution, it means we've got all of those cool old techniques. So we have traditional dark rooms, we've got large format printing, lights, every camera and lens you want to use, which you can book out. You can also book into the studios to do your shoots. You can do that across different disciplines as well. You'll learn how to book those systems, and I'm going to talk about photography papers, but I really recommend taking photography papers in your first year, no matter what discipline you're doing, because it's going to be really helpful learning how to do those processes in with the photography department. All right, so why Massey? There's heaps of places to study art and design and all sorts of creative things. Like I said, we're New Zealand's oldest design school. So with old comes people who have been through our institution who are in all the big businesses you might want to work in one day. We've got people at TradeMe and Xero. We've got people at Google, companies that you might want to work for one day, and they're going to understand the quality of your degree, the hard work you've had to put in. So it is a lot of work. And also you're getting that range of experience, like I said. We are #1 in Asia Pacific in the Red Dot Design Awards. So that last year we took out the best of the best. We had a number of staff and student entries all taking out awards, and so we were given that #1 place by Red Dot Design Awards. There's a number of other awards here, but this is more stuff for your parents. I think it's all really, I really hope that lots of you can come and see our campus. It's a really sad year having the COVID experience going on, because it's meant less of you have been able to come to campus. But I think when you see it, you kind of get a feeling for why we have that ranking and why students don't want to leave when they graduate. It's a pretty amazing place. Some of those amazing people who've been through. So we can see Kate Sylvester down the bottom there, one of New Zealand's leading fashion designers. We have quite a strong relationship with a lot of our alumni. So Kate has an internship where one of our fashion graduates gets to go and work with her. So those really strong industry connections are very useful, and we have lots of those and maintain those as well. Got a lot of strong links with our local film industry. You can see Sir Richard Taylor up the top there. It's also a graduate of ours who started Wetted Workshop. So again, it's that understanding of that quality of the degree. They know the rigorous program you've been through. All right, structure, how does it work? So in first year, we know that you probably, you've got a bit of an idea about what you might want to do, but you might not be completely sure, and you might want to change. And we try and make our program as flexible as possible so that change is possible. So in fine art and design, we have a common first year, which looks like this. So first of all, we've got this yellow section, the gold section. So you're doing 6-week blocks there. So you might do 6 weeks fashion, 6 weeks of art, 6 weeks of some Photoshop, 6 weeks in the workshop perhaps. We've got these common papers down here. So the teal papers are all compulsory theory papers. Everyone's taking those. You're writing essays, you're going to lectures, all that stuff you might expect from university. My favourite part is the electives. So every year through your degree, you've got these 2 spaces where you can either study something to support your kind of main direction of focus. So for example, a fine artist might take painting and drawing the body here, or someone really interested in working in the game industry might take 3D modelling and texturing, and introduction to game technologies might be the electives they choose to take. So that's where you can make it really personal and really focused in on that #1 goal you've got. But if you want to be a generalist, or you've got a second passion, maybe you really want to do a classics paper by distance, or you want to have a language by distance in there, these electives, that's where you can put in that special interest. And we really recommend that you keep those nice and broad, because we want you all to have a slightly different degree so that there's someone for every job that's out there, and you come out with this unique package of papers and knowledge that's special to you. All right, let's just look at the structure a bit more. So our majors, so when I was talking about visual communication design before, that one if you want to be a graphic designer, in first year there's 2 papers we like you to take. So the first one is screen, which is a bit of a boot camp into Photoshop, and then the second one is type, so you're going deep into your typography. So we'd ask you to take those 2 papers, so you're doing 6 weeks of each, and then you're also going to pick 2 others. So you might just think, hey, spatial design sounds kind of interesting. I'll go try it out. And I want to get into that photography studio. I want to know how to book out lights and cameras, and I want to make my own images for my graphic design work. So that might be a package that a visual communication design student might take. Student number 2 might be interested in being a spatial designer. So they only have to take 1 paper. They need to take space, but then they get to pick 3 others. So maybe you've never had a chance to sew anything before in your life, but you're just really interested in it and you want to give it a go. You can take dress. Dress is our fashion paper. You might think my Photoshop skills need a little bit of work, so I'm going to do screen, that Photoshop bootcamp. And actually concept design sounded quite cool. Maybe you're interested in set design, or you want to make costumes for films. So you might take that combo. The fine artist, again, this is the only other discipline where you need to take 2 papers. So you need to take Art Place and Art Lab, and Raoul, my colleague, will go into fine arts in a bit more detail soon. But let's see, so a fine arts student, again, you might think, maybe I want to work in that film industry, perhaps Imagine's a good fit for my practice, maybe you're interested in sculpting dolls and toys and those sorts of things. And maybe you'll take material. So material is actually my personal favourite first year paper. This is a textile design paper, and in first year you take existing materials and produce a new material using those. So you can see how that might have a really interesting fine arts bent that you can take to it as well. So great way to plan these programs is to have a chat with our student recruitment advisors who've put this event on. They sit down with you with a little book that we call the yellow book, and they can help you mix and match and make your own little puzzle that really suits you. In terms of fast tracks, so we might have people listening who have come back from a gap year, or maybe your hospitality job's dried up and you want to be starting your study and you wish you'd started at the beginning of this year. Great news for you, you can start in July. So our Bachelor of Design, Bachelor of Fine Arts and Creative Media Production all have a mid-year start. With that program, you do summer school as well, so it is quite busy. You don't get that break over the summer like you might be used to from school. You're continuing on and taking papers in the summer. Just show you that structure. So you can see here, so this is semester 2, so the second half of the year. So you'd still do 2 of those 6-week blocks. You'd take the 1 theory paper happening through there. You'd take 1 elective, so you're getting plenty of choice for that one. And then the only limitation is you've got slightly less choice about what you can take over summer. So it's worth having a chat with our staff again and planning in what you want to do and how we can make that work for you. So you might just have a few less choices if you're going down that path, and you've got to be really motivated. But it's a great option to have. All right, getting in. This seems to be everyone's big question I've seen rolling through from Barb. So in terms of getting in, we have a automatic entry. So if you got NCEA level 2 endorsed with excellence overall, and one of those subjects was an art or a technology subject, then you get what we call automatic entry. So you're just ready to apply online. We will see from your results that you get automatic entry and you'll be given your conditional offer of place. You still need to make sure you get university entrance in your year 13 year. So keep aiming high. The other way to get in is through portfolio. And this is most people. Most people need to show us some work. So you can, when you start your application, you can upload this online. We prefer a PDF that's under 20 megabytes, or you can post it to us. So posting it, you want a clear file. We recommend A4 size clear file, and but our preference is to do that online. Now, if your work's already on your Instagram or in a Google Drive folder or on a website, you can just put a link to wherever your work is into a PDF or into a Word document and upload that. We will click on that link and check your work out no matter where it is online. So don't feel like you need to make a whole new portfolio. You're busy, you've got to focus on your schoolwork. We understand that. So just show it to us where it is. If you'd like to, I'd love to see your work. Raoul would love to see your work, and some of our other colleagues would as well. So we're also doing portfolio pre-approvals. So that's a process where you sit down with us. You can see a photo of me doing one of those at Kapiti College here. So normally I'd be driving around the country, visiting schools, talking with students about what they want to do and having a look through your work. And if you're ready, if you've got enough work there, we see the creative potential in what you're doing, then we write you a certificate saying you're ready to go. All you do then is upload that certificate when you go to apply in place of a portfolio. So lots of people really like going through that process because we can help give you a little bit of course advice at the time and answer all your questions that you might have during that process as well. And I'm not scary. And also, if you're not ready, if I have to go, you're not quite there yet, it doesn't mean you can't do it again. What I will do is give you lots of advice about things you could continue working on or extra work I'd like to see from you, and then you can apply again later. If you would like to do a portfolio review with us, there is a live booking event up now, so you can head to the Eventbrite listing that you can see at the bottom of the screen, and we'll also pop that into the chat as well. Yeah, looking forward to seeing lots of your work. And that's all from me, really. So again, my email is here. I'm happy to answer your questions anytime, and I'm looking forward to hearing the questions you've asked from Barbara soon. But I've got 2 minutes to go on my presentation, so I've done pretty well on the timing. So I'm going to pass over to my colleague Raoul in Fine Arts now. But thank you very much, and we'll talk soon.
So today, thank you for that wonderful presentation, Astrid. I'm going to talk to you about fine arts and what it means to do a fine arts degree. What you're seeing now on your screen is work from previous or recently graduated students. And if you were able to see our final exhibition, which is Exposure, you probably were able to see the different mediums in which each and every one of students works in. And that is due to what Astrid was mentioning earlier, in terms of you making your own path and you creating your own path in terms of what you're interested in and what you'd like to study. So we welcome a diversity of voices. Every student will be able to make its own path and will be able to work with the areas of interest, but we also encourage students to try out different things. So some of the students that you're seeing here on your screen are students that started working potentially in painting or in other forms and just ended up doing things that were very different to their original interest and practice. Again, if you're interested in painting, you can also, focus on it for the 4 years that the degree is, or you can try out different things and come out with a variety of skills at the end of your degree. In terms of facilities, Astrid's been able to describe most of them, but what I'm going to talk about here is the facilities that you have access to when you are studying fine art. So in the first year, as Astrid mentioned, you'd be in spaces where you'd be sharing some modules with other students from other majors or who are interested in visual communication design or textiles, etc. But in the second, third, and fourth years of this degree in fine arts, you would have your own studios. And what we have is vertically streamed, which means that second, third, and fourth years share the same studio spaces. And that's an important part of the degree because you don't only get feedback from us, but you will also be getting constant feedback and building relationships with your peers and your fellow students, because you're going to be working with them when you're out in the world. So each student gets their own studio. And what's interesting about that is that you can use your studio in any way you want to develop your projects. But also you can access the facilities that we have, which are, wood workshops, 3D printing, like Astrid mentioned. We have excellent 3D printing facilities, metal workshops, video editing suites, sound booths where you can work with sound, and so on. And in photography, which Astrid described really well, the interesting thing about the degree and of the access, even if you decide to stay within fine arts but do photography, you can do that. You have high quality printing, museum quality printing facilities. You have dark rooms, as you saw in the images of Astrid and in this one here. And this is important to mention because not many universities right now in New Zealand are teaching what we call analog and digital photography, meaning analog, you would still be working with film, and you would be taking the photographs and then develop them in the dark room, as you see in the image and the red image in your screen. And you can also be working in the studios, from which you saw also images in Astrid's presentations, and booking all kinds of equipment. And it's important to say that the equipment that you'd be using or learning how to use is equipment that is professional, and which is the equipment that you'd be using when you go out into the world. So you'd be familiarized with the equipment that you'd be using further in your career if you decide to do that, be that as a photographer or as a fine art photographer. You can also, in the photography building, we have facilities to print and bound books. So you could even be making your books, and there's electives where you can learn how to make your own book and your own publication of your artworks or of your photography or any other area of interest. And so what kind of things would you be doing if you're doing a fine arts degree? And really that depends on you and the decisions you make in terms of the electives you choose. But if you do go through the path of fine arts, you would be working in any area of interest that you may have, and you'd be topping this up with the electives that you choose. And one elective that we have, of course, is one that you're seeing now, is drawing, and drawing as expanded practice. Which is quite fun because you're doing from very traditional drawing to drawing with your entire body or drawing with parts of the body that you can't necessarily or don't necessarily use to make drawings traditionally. And as you can see in the next slide, you can also be doing sculpture or painting or many other electives, but it's important what Astrid mentioned, that you can always cross over. Even if you're in fine arts, you can always do textiles or fashion or type or any other workshops like 3D animation, and that is what makes your degree so special, in the sense that you will decide which electives and which focus you want your degree to have. So you could be working in your studio with sculpture, but you can also be doing textiles, or you can be doing moving image, and so on. And as well as having the drawing and the sculpture and printing, we also have printmaking within the facilities. So you can also be doing stuff with printmaking in the workshops there that go from very traditional machines that have been used for centuries within printmaking to digital printing and other techniques that are more contemporary. And of course, these gives you very different results. And something that's important to mention is that one thing that you'll be doing in fine arts is also showing your work. So one of the ways that we do it is in the form of crits or critiques, which means that once you produce a body of work throughout the year, and we do this several times a year, you're showcasing it to the teachers and also to your fellow students, and you're getting feedback from them. And in order to do this, you can do this within your studio space, but we also have what we call test spaces, which you'll see in the next slide. And these test spaces are basically spaces that are like almost like a gallery or like a gallery, where you can test your work and see how it looks without the clutter of your studio. And you can also use dark spaces. We have test spaces that we call light spaces and dark ones. And the dark ones are for you to test video, if that's an area of interest for you, or sculptures that are supposed to be in a dark space, or installations. And the light spaces where you can show painting or sculpture or do performance. And these spaces are used a lot by our students because it's a way for you to see how your work looks within a gallery environment. We also have outdoor spaces. So if you get a chance in the future to see, to have a tour at our buildings, you see that we have a gallery that we made outside of Block 2, which is the Fine Arts building, where you could be showcasing your work as well. But we invite also students, if they want to do a public sculpture, we help them so that they can do that as well. And as well as showing your studio work within these test spaces for your teachers or peers to review, we also invite once a year or twice a year to a time that we call Crit Week. We invite professionals who basically work as curators or professionals in the art world to come and look at your work and give you feedback on it. And that's also part of the idea of having exhibitions, is that you start to connect within your practice through professionally to other institutions. And so in third and fourth year, for example, you will be asked as part of the fine arts degree to go out and look for a space and design the posters with some of your friends from design, potentially who are taking the paper, and do the whole exhibition yourself. So we also invite these real life experiences. Part of the things that we use in our teaching and in the degree is we do nohos. So we go to marais in different parts of the country. So you would do trips with your fellow students. And there's also a marae that's being built in our Massey campus. And this marae will also be used as a teaching space, and it'll be part of some of the papers that we teach there, and part of the experience, of course. One thing that's important to mention as well is that within your degree, you'll be able to do an exchange or go and study abroad. And we encourage that to happen in the third year, because we hope that you've consolidated a little bit your practice by then. And we've done already several study tours to New York, to Venice, to see the Venice Biennale, to see the Sydney Biennale, which is close to home, and even to a festival which is quite important within the art world called Documenta, that happens every 5 years, and one that happens every 10 years called Manifesta. But it's important to mention here is that these are traditionally covered by the student, but recently we tried something different, and we applied for a grant from the Prime Minister Scholarships in New Zealand, and they gave us a grant to take students to the Sao Paulo Biennale, which is another very important festival, one of the second oldest in the world, to take 8 students there. And the grant would basically cover all the travel expenses for the students. And of course, with this situation that's happening all over the world, things are changing, but we are still going to try and do it further along the line. And so Astrid has described really well what the first year would mean for any student, be that design or fine arts. And what I wanted to show you is what it would look like if you decide to go into second year, third and fourth, how you're concentrating most of your time working in your studio. And the electives that you would have access to would be a way for you to connect with other majors and other interests that you might have. But we always encourage students to try out different things and to consolidate their practice, whichever that is. We really welcome diversity. We like the idea of every student having a different path and having a different formation and coming out of this degree with a variety of skills. And so I think I'm doing pretty well. That's me for the time being. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll be happy to answer any questions together with Astrid after this presentation finishes.
That's awesome. Thanks, Raul. There's been a lot of questions.
Excellent.
And yeah, and while I've got you here, actually, I'll start with you. it's kind of like, where do I begin? There does seem to be a lot of queries about students that are really interested in taking a creative pathway in terms of their study. But I kind of feel like the questions are focused around maybe that feeling that they need to get a good job after they've graduated. You know, it costs a lot of money to go through university, and you know, what can I do? What can I do when I'm a graduate of fine arts?
Well, it's a very good question, and basically what we talked about earlier in terms of everyone having their own path and developing their own areas of interest means that when you finish your degree, you have an array of qualifications that are very different than if you were studying something that gives you just maybe one or two qualifications. Here you would decide, like you would probably, if you did a fine arts, you could learn how to do photography, you could learn how to do moving images. And an example of that is that our graduates are working in a really varied area. So some of them are teachers in primary or secondary schools or universities. Some of them are practicing artists. Some of them have opened their own gallery. Some are curators. Some are art writers. Some are even working as VJs, which is, if somebody doesn't know, it's programming and organizing these light events in concerts. So when you see a performer, you see all these videos that are happening behind them. That's what a VJ would do. We have people even working in Europe as practicing artists. So yeah, there's a variety of options there for any of our graduates.
That's awesome. I'm still getting the queries coming in thick and fast, to be honest.
Yeah, and I mean, I can extend that a little bit, just saying that we also have students working in the film industry, making props, or working in visual effects and so on. So yeah, there's a huge variety of options that students might have.
I get that. I guess that exposure to a lot of different creative practices means that you're quite a versatile individual, but you've got that hands-on experience, so you can kind of adapt and kind of modify when whatever creative environment you get into.
Yep, that's correct.
So I know that Astrid touched on this, and I'm not sure that you did because I was answering questions. But one of the questions coming through as well is what the study environment actually looks like. You know, are you just kind of stuck inside these four walls on a day-to-day basis?
Well, they're very dynamic, meaning that you have your studio in fine arts, at least. You have your studio where it's like your base, but you are constantly moving into workshops or going to your electives, and it's really dynamic every day. And fine arts, you have art studio twice a week in the mornings, traditionally from 9 to 12, but the rest of the time you're doing other things, electives and so on.
Cool. Let's have a look here. Oh, okay, so for those that are interested in traveling, is there a way to incorporate this into part of the degree? Like, can you take a bit of a break, go study overseas, and then maybe contribute to whatever you're studying overseas to your program?
Absolutely, and we encourage that through the study tours that I mentioned, or through people going on exchange programs. So we have students, for example, in their third year right now that are studying in other parts of the world, or previously that have gone for 6 months, and they ended up staying there for a little bit longer because they really enjoyed what they were studying, or they want to continue traveling. That's fine. We can always sort of make arrangements for them to come back. But the important thing there is that we have agreements with universities where they're able to study for 6 months or more, because they have sometimes different calendars. And that just offers an opportunity for those who like traveling and connecting with other contexts.
Awesome. Thanks, Raul. I think we'll wrap it up with the questions for you. I think I've got quite a few here that I'm going to put to Astrid now. But is there anything you want to say before you sign off?
No, thank you for listening, and I hope to see you at Massey sometime soon.
Astrid, back in the hot seat.
Hi.
Now you've seen these questions coming through thick and fast. There's actually quite a lot of interest in students that are wanting to do design, but then actually pick up stuff from outside of the College of Creative Arts. So we've had some questions there about, can I do design and science? Can I do fine arts and business? So do you want to just talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So at Massey, we see fine arts and design as both disciplines that require an in-depth inquiry. So we don't do just a couple of design papers attached to a science degree, for example. We see design as something that you need to specialise in. So if you do have a special interest, we get you to major in design. So you might want to be a fashion designer. So you're doing your fashion design papers, you're doing your theory papers, and then through those electives, those red little boxes I had on my screen earlier, that's where we want you putting in those special interests. Because Massey is spread over 3 campuses, so all of our creative disciplines are predominantly on the Wellington campus, except for Māori Visual Arts, which is in the Manawatu. If you have an interest that isn't taught on the Wellington campus, then because we're a major distance learning university, there is the opportunity to do all sorts of different papers that interest you through those electives by distance.
Yeah. Awesome. I guess the one thing about saying about that is just, you know, ensuring that it kind of tees up with your particular timetable. So it's probably a good way to kind of work backwards from that, right? So work out if you want to do that thing that isn't actually on the campus, get in touch with one of us and we can kind of talk you through how to go about that.
Yeah, and our student advisors are best for that because you know about all of the different degrees across the university.
Yeah, so there's a lot of, let's have a look. Would film be a part of fine arts? It could be, depending on what you're interested in and how you're interested in expressing your ideas. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I can. That's probably more of a Raoul question.
Yeah, sorry, Raoul. Yeah, I can put that one to you.
Yeah, students within fine arts do usually a video art practice is more how it's framed, rather than if you were doing, if you wanted to explicitly be a film director, you might be better off going into creative media production. But if you want to look at video art, we have a lot of students practicing in that area and a lot of staff with expertise in that area as well.
Thank you for that. And actually the CMP talk is coming up about 6 o'clock tonight. So if you want to check out what we have in the way of film, then you can come along to that. Got another question here. If I wanted to work in the fashion industry, but not necessarily sewing garments, what would you recommend I study?
Oh. So most of our fashion graduates aren't going out there and sewing garments. Today in New Zealand, most of our garments are not produced here. So within fashion, a lot of people end up working as pattern makers. So you're designing the garment, you're creating the pattern. You might get into fashion buying, fashion production, fashion distribution. We have a lot of international links. There is a fashion trip that goes to India, for example, learning about production internationally. You could be looking at fashion sustainability. You might work for a particular fashion store or New Zealand brand. We have graduates working at Koto and Kate Sylvester and all sorts of other New Zealand labels. You might start your own label, but have your garments being produced somewhere else. So you're the designer, but you don't spend your day at the sewing machine.
Cool, thank you. There has actually been a lot of questions about spatial design and interior design. Mm-hmm. One of the questions here is, can you go further in depth in regards to spatial design, please? Does that include graphical drawing? Another question was around interior design. Do we teach interior design? So might be quite good perhaps just to explain what some of those differences between the two, please.
Sure. So spatial design like I said, isn't architecture. It is, if you've got those interests in interior and how humans work in spaces, spatial design is the way to go. And that can go down to, it can be about soft furnishings and those things that we might associate with interior design. You don't have to do a lot of graphical drawing, as someone has asked, that technical drawing. We do get you to sketch and draw. You're doing lots of model making, and you're also using a lot of digital drawing tools as well. So it's not pure, if you don't love your DVC technical drawing, that doesn't mean that you can't be a spatial designer. In terms of interior, I do really recommend taking textile design papers as well. And it might be that you want to do integrated design, or maybe you want to do spatial design and just take some textile electives, but that wallpaper design paper, also making fabrics for sound insulation panels, carpets, all of that sort of aspect can be done in the textile design department.
Awesome, fantastic. Now this is, I don't know the answer to this question actually, but I've got a name too. Somebody has actually been brave enough to give us their name. So thanks for that, Piper. How long does the pre-approved portfolio certificate last for?
Thanks, Piper. It lasts for 2 years. So we date the certificate, and you've got 2 years from that date to apply. Awesome.
Oh, and we've got Ben as well. Is there a limit on the amount of students allowed to study in the design field? That's actually a really good question.
It is. So that's why we try and get you to apply. It's normally October 1st. We are in discussion at the moment about making that a bit later because we know you've had a tricky year this year and you've been really busy. So we try and get you to get your get in. And so we have our numbers just like you do at high school. So we know how many staff we need and who we've got room for. There are certain disciplines that will fill up, and say, particularly with concept design, we're finding that we only have a certain number of staff teaching that, and those people majoring in concept design will definitely get to do the concept design paper, and then those people who want to do it as a special interest, if we've got room for them, they can, but those people taking it as a major are the priority. So we have room for most people who apply and have a standard of work that we think has the creative potential. Yeah. apply on time is pretty much the main message there.
Nice, thanks so much for that. That's really awesome. I think we're going to park up all the questions for now, but Astrid and Raul, if you could stick around, there's a few questions that have been published there, so if you could take a look through those and maybe ask a few more. If you are out there in the watchers space, if you're an attendee right now and you kind of feel like your question hasn't been answered or you'd like to ask us more, I am putting in my email address and oh, sorry, I've forgotten Belinda's. Sorry, Belinda. I'll copy and paste that anyway. You can get in touch with us. It's our job to help you guys make these decisions about your course selections for next year. We can help you enroll. So yeah, it's the job is, or the process is meant to be as seamless as possible, and we're here to help you with that. So thanks so much coming along, Astrid. Have you got anything else you'd just like to add?
No, thanks for having us. I'll stay around in the chat and answer questions and pop my email in there as well, but do get in touch with us. And also you can now book those portfolio pre-approvals too. We will have more events for those if you don't feel ready yet, and just, yeah, keep asking questions. Thanks.
Ngā mihi. We've got a dynamic duo coming up. Everything that you need to know about becoming a music industry specialist or a creative media maestro. So first up, we've got a genius mind and engineer extraordinaire, Dr. Bridget Johnson. Welcome, and over to you, Bridget.
Kia ora, everybody. It's really nice to hang out tonight, albeit virtually. But yeah, it's great that you guys could take the time to come and learn a bit more about what we do. Thanks, Barb. Probably exaggerated my skills a little bit, but my name's Bridget Johnson, and at the moment I'm the program leader for commercial music, but often my role is the major coordinator of music technology. So I can kind of speak about the whole of the music program, but my personal expertise are definitely within tech. So today I'm just going to talk you through the music program a little bit more, with a bit of a focus on each of the 3 majors that we offer within commercial music, and sort of what that looks like, but also just a little bit of info about the kind of overall philosophy of the program and what we're kind of hoping to achieve and what we hope you guys achieve if and when we do get to meet you and come and study with us. So to give you a bit of an idea, we've got these 3 different majors within commercial music, and we ask you to choose or audition for one of those majors right at the start. But the way that our program is structured, we're very aware that you might not know exactly what you want to do when you grow up, just as you're coming out of school and just as you're coming to work with us. And to be honest, I don't even know necessarily 100% what I want to do when I grow up, and that's totally cool. So we set the first year up in a way that lets you try things from the other majors and makes it easy for you to adapt. And if halfway through your first year you go, oh, I thought I was a tech student, but man, industry is all about me, then we're able to facilitate to help you explore and understand where you might be best suited. So I'll just talk through kind of each one of those. So I'll start with music technology. So within music tech, we do a lot of the things that you would probably think music tech is about. So we do sound engineering, and for us, that's both studio and live engineering. So we have our students in running recording sessions, and we would love to invite you to come and check out our facilities once the world sort of settles back down and things like that are back on the cards, hopefully not too far away, but it's really worth coming in when and if you can kind of get a chance. So yeah, lots of work in the recording studios, understanding the ins and outs of sound and how to get the best sounds. And all of those sort of engineering principles translate to the live scene as well. So we work with our students to make sure they're comfortable and confident on the equipment, and then get that through the 3 years up to a professional level of sound mixing in both live and studio environments. The other side of the music tech degree is something that's very unique to what we do at Massey, and this is sort of more in the technology development areas. So at the moment, as I'm sure you're all aware, tech industries are absolutely booming and seem in a post-COVID or current COVID world to still be going really nice and strong. And so it's important for us that our students see that as a prospective career opportunity as well. So within music technology, we also teach you the ins and outs of how all the technology works and how it's designed, so that our students are also able to go on and build and design instruments and equipment for the tech and music industries themselves. And that's been a really exciting area for us as staff to get to work with the students, but also for the students to kind of see that as a room for growth. And where it gets the most exciting is where we're able to bring those sort of software and hardware development skills back into the music making process. So our students are in this really unique position, as opposed to students that might have gone to a traditional engineering school, where they're learning how to code and they're learning how to build and solder and all of these things. But 2 minutes later, they're testing the instrument in the studio. And so we're able to kind of create this really rapid prototyping system that allows our students to be really key in the development of technology in the future. So that's kind of what you can expect if you're thinking that music technology is a good place for you. We also have a major in music practice. So music practice is for those of you who are looking to really hone your skills in actually performing and composing. So our music practice students take both performance classes and composition classes. And our philosophy behind some of these things is to make sure that our students have really sustainable careers. So whilst it would be pretty fun to be, I don't know, Ed Sheeran for a day maybe, we know that not everybody is going to be able to do that, and we know that that's only fun for a kind of short amount of time. So what's important to us with our students, particularly in music practice, is that they're able to see the development of their careers over a long amount of time. And the best way to do that is to be really varied. So whilst you might want to spend time really honing your craft in your particular genre, and that's an awesome thing to do and will definitely help you do that, we're also going to introduce you to composing for film, composing for game, TV advertising, things like that. So making sure that what you're able to do in your career as a musician has some really long-term benefits and a lot of variety. And trust me, that variety is what keeps it super fun as well. So we've got music tech, we've got music practice for the performers, and then we've got music industry. This is another major that's really unique to us. At least from what I know, and maybe Barb might know actually a bit more, but I don't believe there's anywhere else in New Zealand where you can study music industry in this kind of way. So music industry is really about all the people behind the scenes that are making it happen. And trust me, for every artist that's actually making a living in the music industry, there are 20 to 30 people working behind them that are making that possible. And our music industry major teaches you how to be any one of those people. So there's a lot of work with rights management. These guys are the ones that understand where the money comes and where the money goes. So we definitely all need them in our careers. There's also a lot of work on live events. And at the moment, actually, a lot of what our music industry students are learning is what do you do when the industry drastically changes and you need to take all of your artists and help them adapt to a new landscape. And that's something we're experiencing right now in the music industry, as lots of, performance venues are closed down at the moment and things like that. But the good news is it's not the first time this has happened within the music industry, and we're actually pretty adaptable. And that's kind of another one of our philosophies that we really learn within the music degree across all three of those majors, to make sure that our students don't just know how to do something, but know how to look at the industry, analyse, understand what's happening, and adapt what they do to go on. Again, all about this sort of sustainable practice that allows you to have a really long-lasting career in the industry. So we've got these three different majors: tech, practice, and industry. And generally the way our program works is that in semester one, you'll spend a lot of time taking courses from within your major and able to choose from other majors as well. So in both first year and second year, you've got the opportunity to choose 2 other courses, and at least one of those needs to be a music course, but the other one is just an open elective. So you might be interested in creative media production, fine arts, design, or actually anything from anywhere in the college. So you've got a real opportunity to kind of spread your skills out, try some new things and see how they're getting on. So that'll kind of be your semester one, really getting those core skills for what you want to focus on. Then in semester 2, no matter what you're majoring in, all of our students come together and take the same courses. So whether you're tech, practice, or industry, these are skills that we think are really important for absolutely everybody that wants to work within music. These are things like how to market yourself, media relations, content management and content production. So we'll actually have you learning a little bit of web development, getting behind a camera, things like that that are really important to develop your portfolio and your online presence so that you're actually able to get the gigs. But then a big part of what we do as well is put you in what we call these project courses. And the reason we just call them project courses is because depending on what's going on that year and where you're at within your studies, you might do a whole range of different opportunities within that project. So for example, last year, that project was quite heavily focused on live events. So our first year students went out and put on a gig. Remember, these classes are being taken by students of all three majors. So the practice students formed bands, started putting a set together, rehearsing and getting ready for the show. Meanwhile, the tech students are going around checking out all the venues, looking at the equipment, eventually installing and running the PA. And the music industry students are working on the contracts, the ticketing, the marketing, the promotion, all of that type of thing. So our students are kind of working together within groups in a very real world kind of way to actually get out into the community and out into the industry and get a bit of a taster while they've got our support on what it's actually like to be a musician. So we try really hard to make sure that what you do inside of school is going to be very similar, if not the exact same thing as what you will do outside of school. And then the final course that you would take in semester 2 is a kind of critical and conceptual understanding of music course. And we take one of these in each of our years as well. These courses are really about helping us understand the importance and the role of music and what it actually means to society, why it's important, why does it make us feel good, why does it make people around us feel good, or maybe potential to make them feel in different ways as well. So we think it's really important that our students are able to actually conceptualise and articulate the importance of what they do and able to actually get these kind of critical research and engagement skills by looking at everything that's happened in music to put them in the position they're in now. And really, the first 2 years of commercial music are quite similar to that, with the second year advancing on all of those skills. And then the third year, with semester 1, some advancement of your skills, so you're starting to get to a very professional level. But by this third year, the student is really in charge, and we're there to help you, but you kind of get to tell us what it is that you want to learn. And the way we do that is through your major project. So in third year, each of our students will decide, and they might decide to work together in groups, they might decide that's individual, the project that they want to do to kind of help launch and move them forward in their music career. So we have students that might record an album, that might develop an instrument, try to get some funding to get a product ready to launch. We do interactive installations. Some industry students might be organising tours. We've even had them organising international artist tours. So it's really exciting to kind of see what the students take of that, but it's very much driven by what you want to do and sort of bringing all the knowledge from the 3 years together as this kind of real masterpiece that you can either work on your own or put a bit of a team together to work towards. So I think that probably gives a pretty good idea of what the kind of makeup of the music degree. Maybe Barb, would now be a good time to start jumping in if you've got some questions there, if anybody wants to ask.
Yeah, cool. Hey, I'll start off with something. It sounds like the way that you're talking about music and the way that it is taught at Massey is there is a lot of connecting in with those different majors. So what if a student wanted to major in practice and tech? Is there the possibility to do that?
So whilst you do need to, like, on paper have an exact major, the way that the program is made up is you can get really, really close to doing all of the courses from 2 of those majors. So in first year, if say your major was music technology, you would take sound engineering 1 and interface development 1, but you've got 2 electives. So if you are accepted into practice 1, you can take practice 1 and composition 1 as well. So whether you were a tech major with a practice minor or just practice interest, or vice versa, you'd have the exact same program of study. So you do have to kind of have one on paper just to help us make sure that we're guiding you in the right direction. But at the same time, there's plenty of room to actually get all of the learning. And most of our students do, because very few of us have just a single interest. So it's really, really common to be taking more than one class or more than one interest area.
Oh, cool. So do you find then that some students come in and they might go down that tech pathway and then they flick over to practice maybe, or?
Yeah, or honestly, we have students change majors all the time. I won't lie, the further you're on in your degree, the trickier it gets. But I've even swapped a student in third year. If it really is right, we will make it work. Every now and then, maybe you have to take a summer school class, or you might even end up taking 4 years for your degree, but that's absolutely fine. If it's going to help you move forward in the industry and in the career that you want, then we'll totally work with you to make that happen. A really common one for us is students who come in and they want to be a producer, but that can mean a lot of different things these days, and that really can border on tech and can border on practice. And so for those students, we really recommend, honestly, it doesn't matter too much which of the two you end up in, but that you take both classes of the other one so that you're able to sort of get the perspective of, using the studio as a metaphor, both sides of the glass. So what is it like on the musician side and what is it like on the engineer side? And these days, not that much music is made in traditional music studios anyway. So much is done on your laptops and at home, and people who have a range of specialties are the ones that have longer careers in the industry. So it's really good to make sure you're able to actually change things up quite often.
So you have to be like a bit of a chameleon, kind of adaptable, and you kind of pick up all of these different skills throughout the program.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, it sounds like a barrel of laughs. It sounds like cruisy. Is this how it is? Like, am I just gonna, as a student, cruise in there, just hang out in the music studio all day and just kind of kick around?
Well, yes and no. I think it's like that, but that's because I love it, and I feel so lucky to get to do this. And we have a huge percentage of our students who feel the exact same way. But I think it's important to say that doesn't mean it's not hard work, and that doesn't mean that we're not spending hours and hours and hours in those studios really honing our skills and kind of learning. And we will, it would be really wrong of me to say, oh, music industry, that's easy, we'll just chill out. It's really hard work to make it in the music industry, and so it's really important that our students come in ready to put the effort in. But at the same time, making music is so much fun that whilst we might be working long hours, it doesn't always feel like hard work.
So if my mum says to me, okay, yeah, I can see that you love music, you're spending all this time, jumping on, and you've got all of these pieces that you've uploaded to SoundCloud and what have you, but you should go and get a real job, because I don't know what other skills you're going to learn in this program that can apply to other areas where you might actually be in paid employment once you've graduated. So what do I say to my mum? What am I going to say to her?
That's a good question. Depending on your mum, you might want to word things in different ways. But I think one of the really interesting things to talk about with this is to actually have a look at what some of our students who have graduated with us are actually doing now. And what we've found as a very pleasant surprise, but also a real strength of this program, is that things that you might come in thinking are the like extra skills on the side are the areas where the students are finding really fast and easy employment. Events is a really good example of that. So one of my graduating tech students went on and now is the event manager of Parrot Dog, a local Wellington brewery. So straight out of his degree, he actually ended up running that whole event space. And the reason he got that job is because he understood from a kind of health and safety perspective, what's needed these days in live events, which he'd learned from his tech degree. He knew exactly what equipment and how to run it, but he also knew how to do the marketing. He knew how to do the promotion. He sort of had such a wide range of skills that a job that might seem like it's not exactly music, well, ended up being really perfect, and he ended up right at the top of the list because he was able to do every aspect of that. And those are really important parts of what we do in music, especially when we're starting out. It's very rare that a musician, you know, from the get-go is able to hire somebody else to build the website for them, somebody else to make a music video for them, somebody else to kind of do all these things that are so important to launch your career, even if your career is going to be as an artist. But the beauty of that is, at the end of your degree, turns out you can do all of these other things that are in hot demand, not just within the music industry, but in all of these other industries as well.
Oh, thank goodness for that, because you wouldn't really want to go through a creative process, then at the end of it kind of find yourself kind of just stuck behind some 9-to-5 desk, blood, sweat and tears, you know, paying off your student loan. So that's good to know. And I think I'd be quite keen to get that student's name from Panhead. That's one of my favourite tipples.
I'm pretty sure I'm like trying to remember if it's Panhead or Parrot Dog. I think it might be Parrot Dog.
Oh, actually,
either
I don't
way.
care. They're both good. They're both good. Hey, one other question here I've got. Where did it go? What prior skills do you recommend we have going into the music tech course?
That's a great question. So the good thing about tech is that it can be, we have students from such a wide range of backgrounds. Essentially, the thing that I really want is that you actually love music. And if you like kind of tinkering and putting things together, that's awesome in tech too. But honestly, that's all you need. We have students that are coming in later in life particularly because of that interface development side of things, and they want to learn how to build instruments. But we have students that have never plugged a microphone in, to students that are currently running, you know, the PA at their high school for events and things like that. And the great thing about tech is there's such a wide range of skills that we do, is that you should never feel like you're the only student that doesn't know this one thing, because there'll be something that you have got good experience in and other people don't. And there'll be other things where you're going to learn heaps from the students around you. So it's really, you don't even have to have done music at school. If you think it's rad and you're interested in gear and you like putting things together and you get stoked when buttons flash or when something sounds good, then you should totally come and hang with us in tech.
Awesome. That sounds great. Actually, I'll just sneak one more question in. This is yeah. Anyway, are either of the majors more difficult than the other?
That's a great question. I would say that everyone is more difficult than everyone else at different times. I think that that tech can feel a little scary when you first come in, because, you know, if you haven't been in a recording studio or something like that, you're like, oh man, there's so much gear and what if I break it? But within a couple of weeks you realize, actually it's totally chill, I'm not going to be able to break it. And I think, you know, industry, when you first come in, can feel a little bit easier because you haven't got that sort of overwhelming thing. But, you know, by the time you get to third year, like I said, the industry guys are the ones that get the rest of us paid. So their job's pretty hard and pretty important. So, yeah, I would kind of give the vaguest answer possible, which is to say they're all hard and unique in their own ways.
And it probably kind of depends on what your alignment is, right? And like what your particular skill set is.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if you're really stoked on, you know, playing your guitar and that's all you want to do, performance is probably not going to seem that hard to you. You know, whereas some of the other ones will. So it's so individual.
Cool. Well, I think we'll leave it at that. I'm sure we could keep talking all night. It's great. Thanks so much for coming. Do you want to just add anything as a final word before we sign off?
Yeah, I just realised that I forgot to mention, so I will just quickly say, for our music practice, we do have limited entry, and so you need to audition for music practice. And I'm sure somehow we just have a system where you can audition over Skype or Zoom or whatever online. That's absolutely fine. So I wonder, Barb, if we could put up a link. I've got a link to where you can go to sign up for auditions, so it might be good if we could chuck that in the screen for everybody to see. For the other two majors, it's not a sort of formal audition process, but we'd still really encourage and love you to sign up for a consultation, which just gives you a chance to talk to the major coordinator and get a bit more information about the program. We'll ask you questions about what you want to do and help you kind of choose those courses and help make sure you're in the right place. So if you are really interested, the next step for music is definitely to jump in and sign up for a one-on-one consultation for tech or industry, or an audition for practice. And at that point, if you're not sure which one you want to major in, that's absolutely fine. Just sign up for something that sounds good and we'll help you make that decision.
Awesome, thank you. I've actually just put in the link, the Creative at Massey link for the music, for the College of Creative Arts website. And on that you can jump in. I think it's called auditions and consultations. The calendar's in there. So, but if you get stuck, you can always get in touch with me or Belinda, and we can come to that. But thanks so much, Bridget. Enjoy the rest of your night. Maybe stick around and check out some of those questions in the Q&A, and perhaps you can jump on there and answer a few of those. We're going to finish it there, and very shortly we'll have Scott Wilson from Creative Media Program coming to us. So that will be very soon. Ngā mihi. Kia ora, Scott.
Kia ora.
I'll give you an intro, eh?
Can you see my presentation okay?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we can see that. So ngā mihi nui, ngā mihi mahana kia koutou, no mai haere mai ki toi rau whārangi. A very warm welcome to you all tonight to Massey's College of Creative Arts information session. My name's Barbara. I'm your host for this evening. I'll be taking you along for the ride. Belinda Wipu is also in the driving seat. She's producing the show this evening, and we're really happy you could pop by. I've just got a couple of announcements to make. I know there's a few of you that have been sitting in here for a while waiting for CMP to ramp up, so I will make it quick. So we're recording, but we can't see you and we can't hear you. So jump on that Q&A box if you want to ask us any questions. I'm going to try and answer those during the presentation, and I'll hold off some of those so I can put those to Scott at the end of the session. If you want to receive a recording of the session, you can, but you actually need to register with us. So I'll put the link if you haven't already done that. If you are just a little bit patient, it does take about 3 or 4 seconds to jump across from one presenter to the other. So just bear that in mind. And I think that's it from me. Creative Media Maestro, Scott Wilson, the floor is yours.
Kia ora, thank you. It's wonderful to be here digitally and virtually from the safety of my own study, beaming into wherever you happen to be. I hope you're well, and it's really great to be able to spend this time with you. So I wanted to spend a bit of time tonight just sort of talking about creative media production, or CMP, at Massey, to give you a sense of what the degree entails, how the various parts of it fit together, the kinds of things that you can expect to be doing over the course of the degree, and then just to answer any questions that you might have and help along the way. So starting with our beautiful building, isn't it gorgeous? We love it. So you'll see it everywhere on all of our publicity. But moving in. The first point, I think, and this is one that I spend a lot of time talking about with my students. I'm new to the program myself, having been here for just on 5 months now. But one of the things that drew me to Massey, and I think one of the things that I'm hoping will draw you to our program, is the fact that the people who engage with creative media production are people who are storytellers. They already see themselves as storytellers across a variety of media forms. And one of the central parts of creative media production is the fact that we want to find ways to help people tell stories. Humans have been telling stories for as long as there've been humans. And that's an important part of what makes us who we are. So there's a need always for people to tell new stories and more stories, and the same stories in new ways. So the focus in creative media production is on storytelling across a range of media forms. It's not obviously just that, but ultimately we're drawn together because we love the idea of being able to communicate with each other and across these media forms, as you'll see. Throughout the degree, you'll become increasingly what I refer to as thoughtful, critically self-reflexive practitioners. Now, let me unpack that a little bit for you. The focus here is obviously on practice. Inside the degree, you'll be making a lot of stuff, so much stuff. You spend most of your time making stuff. So if you like to make things, then this is the place for you. But we're interested in producing people who are critically self-reflexive, by which I mean you're able to ask questions of yourself and the things that you're doing. You are asking, why am I telling this story? Who is my audience for the story? What is the message I'm trying to get across? Is this the right media to tell the story, to reach the people I'm trying to influence and affect? So what we're interested in is helping people to become not just highly skilled practitioners, but people who are deeply thoughtful about the reasons why they're seeking to do what they do, whether it be to entertain or to change people's points of view. And the last point is an interesting one. Storytellers are the canary in the coal mine. It's the job of the storyteller to take the pulse of society and to tell us how we're doing. Storytelling is a place where we get to comment on how life is. And it's no surprise that over the last couple of months, as the world has entered into this very difficult time, social media is full of stories of people thinking out loud about how it is to survive in this very, very difficult time. So storytelling is vital to what it means to be human. Storytelling will never disappear as a function of why we are here and why we desire to create art. So to the degree, to the important parts, leaving aside my kind of evangelical sort of ramblings, the degree has 5 pathways: film and television, in its very sort of recognizable forms, animation and visual effects, primarily 2D and 3D animation, although we have had students work in stop motion as well. Creative technologies, which aligns with a lot of what Bridget was saying earlier. And this is for people who are interested in making media instruments and developing and prototyping new ways of thinking about media production. Game development is a pathway for both video games and traditional gaming platforms. And then finally, producing and directing, not just for moving image like film and television, but for arts management and arts productions across the board. The first key point then is that these pathways are not majors in the traditional university form. They're areas of specialization, and that means you're not tied to a single body of study. You might be interested in games, for example, but you're free also to cluster other areas of study around that in order to create a degree portfolio that best suits your interests. The point was made earlier, and it's a point worth repeating, that increasingly those people who have the wider skill sets and who are most flexible in terms of their training and their thoughtfulness are the ones who survive better in terms of paid employment. And we recognise this in the degree structure by giving you a way to be flexible with the things that you study. You might arrive thinking you want to be a director, but wind up discovering that you love coding and web development. And we wanted to provide a way for you to have that freedom to explore and experiment without necessarily being locked for 3 years into a pathway that you found yourself increasingly out of step with. So the key part of the degrees construction is with an eye to flexibility to suit your interests and to recognise that they will change over the 3 years that you study with us. Alongside the courses from the pathways, there's also room to include electives from within other pathways or from other schools within the university. And here, this is where people find a way to supplement their pathway direction with other kinds of skill sets. So if you're studying animation, maybe this is where you'd pick up a life drawing class with the design department. If you were thinking about arts management and production, you could pick up an accounting course, should you be the kind of person who enjoys accounting. So there are ways in which you can combine a whole variety of threads from other parts of the school to supplement the study that you're specializing in. And the final thing to point out, and this is another one of the sort of more radical moments of creative media production, is that all first year courses are graded as either pass-fail. And we decided after a long period of consultation to remove the regular form of grading, because for as long as people were focusing on achieving a particular kind of grade, they were less focused on experimenting. And we want the first year to be a place where you can experiment without fear of being penalized for trying something out and not being as good at it as you first thought. So the first year courses are all pass and pass fail, and this is designed to encourage you to try things that are unfamiliar, and who knows, what kinds of things that will open up for you. And if you have questions about that, fire that through to me as we proceed. To talk a little bit about our facilities, we have a fully functioning film studio with a green screen rig and a whole variety of sort of supporting technologies around that, including a range of cameras that you can start booking out for your own use from day one. Once you're aware of how to use this technology, we encourage you to make use of it in your own time. I talked before about the fact that you'll be making stuff. We want you to make so much stuff that we want you to continue to make stuff when you're not on campus. It's impossible to make too much stuff, and I really hope you rise to that challenge and try that one out. So the point here is that we have a fully equipped film and television studio with a raft of equipment, and we want you to make use of it, because otherwise it just sits around gathering dust and crying. It's important that it gets used, and we want you to be the people to use it. We have also fully functioning virtual reality and augmented reality facilities with motion capture, with 2D and 3D animation and more. And again, the whole point to this is we want students who will come in and push this equipment to its breaking point, in order to discover how else we can tell stories, how else we can entertain, how else we can engage our audiences. Students learn obviously on campus, but we want you to be out on location and on site as much as possible too. So much of creative media production happens away from the classroom that very early on you'll be gaining experience in how to produce work effectively and safely off-site as well as on-site. So there are courses dedicated to on-location training and safe practices. So much of the work that you'll be doing in the creative industries involves working in teams. So as alongside the harder skills in technical specialization, you learn those really important transferable soft skills like project management and team management, how to collaborate with a group of people to arrange and arrive at a shared vision to realize storytelling goals. So all of those things are factored into your studies. As well as that, we encourage you to learn all of the skills that you might need to survive as an independent artist, as a practitioner. Most of our students go on to paid employment inside their industries, inside games, film and television, and so on. But we want you also to have a range of skills that, should you desire it, you can set yourself up as an independent practitioner and make something approaching a working living out of it, current conditions notwithstanding. This shot is one of our graduates on location in Fiji filming a documentary. Our students develop work across their degree, and throughout that we are encouraging them to engage with those external industries and corporations that may very well be the places where they find long-term employment. And I'll be talking about this in a little bit, but this is an example of Kiwis Can Fly, which was a 3D animated series developed by Courtney as part of her third-year major project. She pitched it to Television New Zealand and they loved it. And now you can watch the series online on TVNZ's platform, Hey Hey platform as well. So throughout the degree, we're encouraging that kind of interaction with external corporations and providers as well. As well as the more traditional forms of media making, film and television amongst them, inside the creative media production pathway, inside creative technologies, we really encourage people to experiment with the development of new forms of interactive media devices. and to think about new ways of telling stories. So the illustration there is of a student who wanted to film himself as a character inside his own interactive video game. So the rig there sits on his back, there's the camera at the top, that little periscope that's looking down at him, and then he can see himself as a character inside a virtual landscape through the Oculus Rift glasses that he's wearing as well. That's the kind of experimentation that we're really interested in. This is what the degree looks like, and I've put a bright yellow circle around what would be your first year. I'll be talking about that in more detail. But I've seen in the questions, people are asking, well, what kinds of courses specifically would you be doing? And you can see there in semester 1, you would select 2 of our studio courses, and you can choose from animation, digital video, games, introduction to producing and directing, media visualization, web and mobile development. You would then do an introduction to creative media production course with me, and then you would have room to choose an elective. And then in your second semester, there's another range of studio courses to give you a breadth and a depth of experience across all of the media forms that we're interested in. The yellow courses are the studio courses. You choose from those. The blue courses or teal courses are the prerequisites that you do, and then the readers for the electives. In your second year, you see there's the same kind of structure. In the third year, by the time you get to third year, the focus is really on realizing a major project which takes up the bulk of the last half of the second semester. So in more detail, this is what it looks like. So your first semester of your first year, you would do Intro to CMP with me, you choose 2 studio courses, you have an elective. In the second semester of your first year, you do Working with Scripted Material, 2 studio courses and an elective. And if you decide to come in the middle of the year, we have a summer school offering as well, where that helps fill out the credits for that full year, so that in the first semester of the following year, you would align with your cohort and carry on as per normal. So key points, just to revise. Every course in your first year is pass-fail. This is designed deliberately to encourage you to experiment, to try out, to extend yourself into unfamiliar areas. In your second year, we encourage you to develop focus and depth as you begin to specialise in the things that you discovered that you loved in your first year. And in your third year, your work becomes increasingly outward focused. The major project in third year occurs in relation to external clients who provide us with a series of candidate briefs, and we develop work for external clients as a result of the third year. And this is where Courtney's Kiwis Can Fly came from. How to apply? It's easy. It's a 2-step process. Apply online through the university, you receive an ID number, and we email you when your application is complete, and then enroll in your courses. The key thing about the Bachelor of Creative Media Production is that it's open entry. There's no upper limit for the numbers of people who can apply, and it doesn't have any extra entry requirements. And again, we've designed this deliberately to encourage as many people as possible to take up the opportunity to become storytellers in their own rights. We want voices that we've never heard before. As an aging bald white guy, I can tell you that I'm sick of aging bald white guy stories. It's time for new voices, and this is why we've made it as easy as possible for you to come in, and as easy as possible for you to experiment and explore the things that you're interested in once you're inside and surrounded by us. Once you're here, we're able to support you with a range of scholarships, and again, the website has links to all of these to help you with your studies. But the key thing, I think, is that the CMP program has been designed from the ground up, from entry through to graduation, with a focus on giving you the room to do what interests you, to develop your portfolio, to create your own career pathway, to follow the things that bring you joy. And the things that excite and interest you. We make cool stuff. At the end of the day, that's what we do. We want you to come in and make cool stuff, and we're particularly interested in cool stuff and cool stories that we haven't seen or heard before. This is why we need new voices. So this is me, Scott Wilson. That's my email address. I would love to hear from you. If you have any questions, let's have them. Thank you for your time.
I was just having a little laugh because when you said this is me, there was a dude in a suit with green leaves all over himself, and I was thinking, is that really you? Kind of look a little bit different now.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Hey, that was awesome. I'm actually getting quite a few queries here about taking CMP, but then actually doing other study with that, like for fine arts, for example. Can I take creative media and fine arts at the same time? Languages as well. So I've responded to the languages one, but I just wonder if you can just maybe focus a little bit more on, say you're doing creative media and you want to pop in some other design courses perhaps.
Absolutely. There are a couple of ways you could do that, and it depends really on where you want to locate the body of your study. So if you're interested in making media, and particularly sort of moving image media, or you're interested in kind of creating media technologies, then my advice would be to think about locating the bulk of your study inside CMP and use the elective slots to interact with fine arts. And there are a range of courses inside design and fine arts that function as really appropriate electives for CMP. So I mentioned life drawing, for example, if you're doing animation. And if you engage in animation, then we really encourage you to pick up a drawing course. But there are painting courses, still photography courses, anything that allows you to develop your style and your eye or your voice, we really encourage you to take. So the great thing about the CMP program is that all of the material that you learn in the electives, we really want you to bring back and test out inside your CMP courses. If you find yourself drawn more to the fine arts area, then absolutely locate there and use their elective slots to take CMP courses as electives to liven up, no disrespect, to perhaps expand the fine arts study that you might be doing. So there's inside the degree programs in the creative practices, there's a degree of flexibility to allow that cross-pollination for exactly those kinds of purposes.
Cool. Yeah. The other one that I noticed when it came up was the pass-fail. I saw pass and I saw fail. What happens if I fail? What does that mean for the next year?
Really good point. Really good point. Well, the whole point to pass fail is that we design it to encourage experimentation, and so the focus is obviously on the pass. But we recognise that sometimes life does what it does. It gets in the way. Capitalism collapses. There's a global pandemic. Stuff happens, and so should that occur, bearing in mind that between starting a course and failing a course, lots of stuff can happen. So at the moment I'm dealing with students sort of almost by the hour who are finding studying online difficult, and they're reaching out, and it's no problem at all to find ways to help them manage their work inside the conditions they find themselves within. So even before we start talking about what happens if you fail, it's worth pointing out that inside each course and with each tutor and lecturer, there are loads of things that can be done to support your studies should you find yourself getting a bit wobbly, even before we get to the business of thinking about what happens if you fail. But with that in mind, sometimes people fail, and it happens. Now, if that occurs, there are a few things that we can do about that. And the first is, if you've handed in a piece of work and then something happened, like you broke your leg, or you broke your cat, or you broke your cat's leg, and you weren't able to continue with the course, then I would encourage you to apply for an AgriTat. And with an AgriTat, we go, oh, well, this person got this grade, and if they'd carried on and hadn't fallen on the cat, then they would have got this for the course. And we basically go into bat for you and say that if you'd been allowed to continue the course, if life hadn't got in the way, this is what you would likely have got, and that's the grade we assign to you. If that's not the case, if something else happens and you weren't able to complete a piece of work, or let's say you completed all of the work and it just wasn't up to scratch because the course didn't make sense, or it only started to make sense really late in the day, then we have what's known as a retrieval. And with the retrieval system, you failed the course, but you came really close and you tried really hard, and we recognise that. So what we do is we give you an extra piece of work to do, just to demonstrate that even though things were a bit ropey for a while, you still have the central learnings of the course under your belt. You demonstrate that inside an additional piece of work, and we go, yep, that's totally fine. Across the line, carry on. It's fantastic. So I guess to kind of sum up, there are lots of things we can do before we get to the sort of fail part. But even if that happens, all is not lost. There's lots we can do to make sure that people have sort of hugging arms around them, keeping them safe should things get wobbly, because ultimately once you're here, we want to keep you and turn you into the storytellers that we need.
What about that cat? Is that cat going to get any attention? A bit worried about that cat.
Cats get all the attention, all cats all the time.
So Kate has asked us a couple of times. Sorry, Kate, I kind of got lost a little bit earlier up in the screen of questions, but thanks for not being shy and adding your name in there as well. Do graduates get jobs or internships in the filming industry after they graduate? Is that something that happens quickly? Maybe they can actually get a bit of experience through the program. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Scott?
Yes and yes. The internship thing is an interesting one. I am in two minds about the internship, because on the one hand, it's a really great way for students to gain experience in the industry. But also, I mean, if you come and study with us, then my job is to keep you safe. And, interns are really great unpaid labor. So, if you are looking at doing an internship, there is certainly space inside the degree for people to engage with internships with industry, and we would absolutely support you. But we would also make sure that you are being kept safe and not exploited or overworked, as part of that internship. But absolutely, the structure exists. And we support it, absolutely, because it's a great way to gain networking connections and looking after yourselves. Post-degree, people get employment with speed depending on the nature of their specialisation. So if you prioritise, say, directing as your specialisation, it's going to take you longer to get a gig as a director than if you specialise in one of the technical skills. And this is one of the reasons why the degree is structured to give you a bedrock of technical skills as well as those higher order creative skills, so that you may have an eye on becoming the next Taika or the next Jane Campion, for example, but it's unlikely you'll get that gig straight out. So what we want is for you to have all of the kinds of skills to get you the job on the film set or on the TV set, in the production, and that way you can start to work yourself up the food chain to become the geniuses that we already know you are, and we're just waiting to see. I hope that answers your question.
Cool, thanks so much. Let me see, we've had a few more come in. And actually this is one thing that I experience when I go out and meet creatives, prospective students within any of the creative arts, to be honest. They're a little bit worried about the written component of the program. So how much of this goes on in CMP? Right,
really, really good point. I guess the first thing to say is that I teach the most traditionally academic of the courses. I teach the sort of introduction to CMP, and of all of the courses, it's the one that most looks like a standard university course with this one bald white guy and 100 and something students in a room, and even inside that, I'm encouraging people to find ways to submit their work in forms that suit their creative talents and practices. So yes, there is writing. But largely it's writing of the kinds of forms that you would find in your paid employment once you graduated. So you'll be learning how to write production schedules, how to do call sheets, how to manage budgets. If you don't like spreadsheets beforehand, my God, you'll love them by the end of this. And sure, there are moments in there where there'll be shorter form essays and research projects. But across CMP, increasingly, we encourage people to find ways to express themselves that suit how they like to express. For some people, it's the written word, absolutely go crazy. But many people find it easy to express themselves in images or in dialogue or in photographs or in illustrations. And so this is why, particularly in the studio courses, the focus is on producing project work and less so on thinking about how to write out that kind of material, if that makes sense. So from word go, even though you're still learning the skills, the focus is on skills demonstration in relation to practice. Yes, there is a writing component, but it's nowhere near what you would anticipate a standard university course to be, because the focus with CMP is really on helping people find ways to express themselves that best suit them and not us. Does that make sense?
That's great. That's awesome. One thing actually that we do get a lot of as well are students that are asking the difference between the Bachelor of Communication and the Bachelor of Creative Media Production programs. Now,
Yeah.
I know that you're fairly new. Is that in your remit?
I can take a crack
can you talk to that?
Yeah, totally.
Awesome.
So visual communication, and this is, I mean, visual communication and creative media production, they both have their place. I'm not about to kind of critique either of those. Visual communication is focused primarily on still media and static media. So think graphic design, typography, sort of advertising, publishing, those kinds of design practices find themselves located in a visual communications design degree. And this is where you would learn about the creation of that kind of media, its history. You would think about critiquing it, but it's focused primarily on the more traditional and more static design elements. Creative media production, I think the primary distinction is in the fact that it's moving image media primarily. So games, animation, visual effects, film, television, for starters. So where visual communications design is static, creative media production is active. It's not to prioritize them. It's just to say that one is focused primarily on print media and its web forms, and the other is focused on moving image practices. I think that's how I would distinguish them. Okay,
sorry, Scott. I think you may have misinterpreted what I was meaning. We have a Bachelor of Communication. That's all good. And I wouldn't really expect you to know too much about the Bachelor of Communication. You're new to Massey, so I think with the person that has actually asked that question, there's been a few. That's probably something that Belinda and myself can talk to. Sure. I'm just going to put my email address up for the person so they can talk to me about it further. But
in my experience at other universities, the Bachelors of Communication are fascinating, but are also much like media studies programs at universities tend to be. They're more largely theoretical than they are practical, and creative media production is more practical than it is theoretical, I guess.
The Bachelor of Communication and Massey is actually a combination of theoretical and actually applied. So it's quite a good one, but I can talk to the person in greater detail. Look, I think I could probably ask you more questions all night. It's been fantastic. We are going to have to wrap it up, and I thank you very kindly for coming along. Is there anything that you want to particularly finish on? You might have about 3 seconds.
I think it's important to stress that the way the media industries are at the moment is not the way we want them to be. The world has changed. It's changing really, really quickly. We need new voices. We need new voices to be heard. And we need to make it possible for people who haven't been able to tell their stories before, give them a chance to tell their stories now. This is the time to make a change, and I think this is the place to make it. We would love,
awesome.
Would love for you to come.
Great, kaupapa. Great to finish on. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you so much.
Up now, we have an amazing artist and educator. I first heard of her at university in 1992, and she helped open my eyes up to an Aotearoa New Zealand that I had very little understanding of. So when I met her a couple of years ago at a crowded open day on campus, I was a little whakama, as you can imagine, but here she is, the gentle powerhouse that is Kura Te Waru Rewiri. Nau mai, haere mai e whaia. Over to you.
Tēnā kaitai katoa, anga mihi ati kia koe. Kia kaitai I raro I te kaupapa o tēnei pō. Some pretty hard acts to follow. There my Kia ora no ko Kura Te Waru Rewiri tōku ingoa no ngā puhi me Ngāti Raukawa, me Ngāti Kahu, me Ngāti Kuri, me Ngāti Rangi ahau. I am the program leader for Toyo Hokiapiti, which is based in the Palmerston North campus. We have been located here since 1995. We offer the Bachelor of Māori Visual Arts, and we also have postgrad studies and PhD studies as well. We are located in the Te Pūtahia Toi School of Knowledge and Art, a building on the top of the hill on the campus in the Manawatu. We are connected to the School of Art, Whiti o Rehua Toirau, Whārangi at the Creative College of Creative Arts. And Toyo Hokiapiti came in on the wave of many initiatives that have been happening in the 1980s and into the 1990s. We saw a gap to develop contemporary Māori visual arts programs, and this one was set up at Massey while I was lecturing at Elam School of Fine Arts, and I was privileged to join Robert Yankay and Shane Cotton to get this program off the ground. The focus is kaupapa Māori. It's a 4-year degree. Its core studies courses are shared with Māori studies to ground us in kaupapa Māori. So our core requirements are that students and staff initially were expected to take te reo from year 1 to year 3 to engage in the core requirement of developing yourself as a political being by also being involved in the Tiriti or Waitangi course. So we shared our programs with Māori studies, and initially with museum studies, media studies, and now the School of Art. Our Māori art theory programs is core, and it grounds your learning in customary arts practice and grows the knowledge base of the cosmological narratives embedded in the whare and the whare hoi, not necessarily the whare carved, but we relish and respect the knowledge that comes from the framework of the whare. Our major courses are in studio practice, which happens twice a year from year 1 to year 4. We have a thematic approach that enhances the grounding in kaupapa Māori that looks at year 1, whakapapa, your identity, getting to know who you are, and us getting to know who you are, making connections to whānau, marae and hapu. In the second year, we have mana tiriti, which is supported by the students taking the Te Tiriti Waitangi paper in Māori studies. And it what this paper really does is it politicises all students, Māori and non-Māori, in the context of Aotearoa. You're either there on one side as a crown entity, or you're on the other side as tangata whenua. Mana whenua is in the 3rd year, and the emphasis here is on kaitiakitanga, guardianship of knowledge, guardianship of identity, guardianship of all taonga tuku iho that we are responsible for as tangata whenua. The aim is to share those values, share our values with everyone, to create a better environment of being able to coexist alongside of each other in harmony. Mana tangata is about self, but self within a collective, and it's that growing and maintaining mana of not just yourself, but those you come from, those you work with or study with, and the emphasis is on the individual, the contribution of the individual within the collective, and the kaitiakitanga of the collective to that individual. Our program is really clear, I think, in what it offers, and in terms of media studies. We started off in 1995 with focus on 2D, 3D, so that our students were grounded in the principles of design and the corridor that goes with the basic knowledge of developing the arts. The emphasis was on painting and sculpture. It still is. That has developed into installation, and we actually endorse and try to encourage students that we don't actually tell them what to do, but we ask them to move towards what they think the medium is that they want to work with. And a new thing that happened maybe 10 years ago, I call that new, was the introduction of digital media to the 2D, 3D suite that we offered. And the digital media was brought in by our colleague, past colleague, she's still in College of Creative Arts, Rachel Rakena. And she introduced media, moving image and digital media expression. And the importance of rangahau is that if we don't know who we are, what is informing our work. So everything that comes under the thematic approach to our program has to be endorsed by rigorous rangahau. And if that's happening, sometimes it happens with a bit of pain, but most of the time it's about growing the person or the individual. I tried to get students to not be so precious about their work and do some collaborative stuff and work over the top of someone else's work to either improve it or to think about how that made you feel. You know, and sometimes it's quite an unsettling experience to actually go over the mark that someone else made, and then it becomes fun, which is the healing process of the collaborative way of working. It has its moments, but we're not looking for whether it's good or not, but whether it was fun, and acknowledging that you might feel a bit better after doing something like this. These are two of our first year students from 2017. They are now fourth years. Studio spaces are small and intimate, and the program has we're not flash, we're not endowed with facilities that you may see anywhere else. But what we tried to do here is to develop concepts that that students can learn to articulate with and come from a knowledge base that is supported by the knowledge that's within the whakapapa, the knowledge that's within the whenua, the knowledge that comes out of the treaty, the knowledge that comes out of self. So on the left-hand side is the group of students of 2017. That was when I returned to this program. And on the right-hand side is the only guy who's in the group. And 3 of those ones are still together. This young lady, I forgot her name, but her father is Mike Smith, the environmentalist Māori activist. More a view of studio space, so you can see our spaces are quite small, but they do get utilised and kept warm, and spaces that the students get to learn to share with each other. Sometimes they do have some moments. And on the right-hand side is the stylistic work that's coming out of this student, Ngāni Waite. They will be graduating this year. Also part of our program, we have a noho, and in the past and last year we went back to Waipiro Bay to Professor Youngkay's marae in I've just forgotten the place. But from that base we travel out to the surrounding areas of the east coast to visit ka whare that students will grow appreciation for when they do the theory course Ngāhanga Whakairo. And it really helps to get the students out into the field, as everyone knows, so that they can get an idea of where things fit in and why. This marae is Henerupe, and it was burnt. It's new buildings. They suffered a fire and lost the original buildings, and so inside the whare has some really organic, right, white, red and black tukutuku that I swear move. When you look at them sideways, I felt like I was this motion sickness. But that's because I'm unbalanced anyway in my eardrums. And on the right-hand side, it's one of our forerunners to the contemporary Māori visual arts is the work of John Hobell. These colourful wall works. He was very innovative in that he began to go into the areas between the heke and paint. So the ceilings and some of the whare that he worked with came alive with painted images. And we get together with our past and present alumni, and you can see that we have quite a whānau orientated focus, and our kids come with our mokopunga rather, come with the appearance who may happen to be current staff, and we like that environment where we've got the mix of the tamariki with kaumātua queer and the ones in between, the parents. We've got what's his name? Reuben Friend, who's the curator at Pātaka, was a alumni of ours. Johnson Witihira was our first PhD. Just around the corner here is Rachel Rakana and her baby, Osi. And Ngātai Taiapa, who's the kaihautu toi Māori for Kauka. And the one in the cap is always Professor Youngkay. So last year, the fourth years had their exhibition at Te Pūtahia Toi. A small group of four, and they were they looked at digital media mainly. This is work by Nike Tōnehi, who decided to go to work this year after having enrolled in the postgrad diploma. He did a range of works from his first year to the second to the fourth year, and then he ended up doing his last lot of work in digital media. I don't know whether I should say this one or not, but this work here, the two black framed works, belong to a student who is still to complete, but we couldn't let him go. So he came to class quite often, and so we saw his growth actually. Once we saw him produce this work, we could see that he was really committed to his whakapapa to Te Arawa carving, and he tried to marry Ngāti Porou and Te Arawa carving, but we said, oh, we need to just tweak this a bit. But yeah, and then on the right hand side is our someone, the second year student, Marianne Mausina, and her digital photography work. And it's wonderful how she has fitted in so just naturally with us. It rules the roost sometimes. This was just to give you an idea of what we do in the second theory paper, Ngā Momo Whakairo theory course. It's about we've arranged the kōwhaiwhai in terms of to show the whakapapa of kōwhaiwhai painting in our earlier developments. And it's amazing that I think the first one was in 1825. That's when kōwhaiwhai painting, which is a very prominent and popular source of design and pattern for artists today, including myself at one stage of my productivity. So they're very organic, and there's some really good things that Professor Yanke points out when he's delivering his lectures. We've got to try and find a marakiho in this pattern here. So that was, every year is the problem for me. These kōwhaiwhai patterns come from mainly in the East Coast, I think. Yes. I've included some works here from the master students. This is Maya Week, and it's a digital media work, and it's one of a series of 3 works, and her kaupapa was dealing with the outbreak of the white supremacy event that happened at our campus. Was it last year or the year before last? And she responded. I think if she comes back, we can get a little bit more clarity with that work. We also, this is Pōwai Taiapa, who was in her 4th year in 2014. She come back to us. She come back with amazing array of talent, youth talents that she's developed in her work in television. So you can go from this program into television. She's proved it. She's come back to us to do her postgrad this year, and she's hopefully she's going to do a series of works in response to social media and Te Reo Māori revitalisation. So you might be looking at things like TikTok. And we turn to the more sombre work of a 4th year student from last 2018, sorry. And this is Pam Vernon, and she is from the Waikato, Whanganui area. And this is probably quite a well-known icon from up the river. at Pipiriki, and I think I was able to help her with her painting to make it more sort of frosted and mysterious. She's come back to us for her postgrad this year. Maya Weeks, her first year with the PG dip. These weeks move quite a bit, dealing with sexuality. In 2017, when I first came back, this exhibition was held at Te Manawa. We've had a very long relationship with Te Manawa for the end of year exhibitions, and we will be back there this year for the 25th anniversary staff exhibition that I'm curating, and also the exhibition for the Matatau, which is the 4th years, and they're invited PG Dip and master students. So this week here, you know, this is quite a challenge for the student, and I think it was successful because he played around with the potential for it to expand out of its rigid structure of the pyramid, and was quite successful. He's doing his masters this year. A solar powered manu concept this year. Clayton Tansley is our technical demonstrator. He actually produced one of these forms again for aviation at the airport here at Palmerston North, and components of it were made in 3D print. And just a touch of the basic contemporary drawing that we share, and it was good to see images in the previous presentations. First one, I think, and the second one, students really getting into drawing in a non-traditional way. This is probably more conservative in its approach with contour drawing, but it is quite students really have to make an effort to follow the line that they're drawing and what they're looking at, rather, and not take their pencil off the paper. So our program is grounded in its customary practices in the whare and whare rākau, and our student in the postgrad diploma course in 2018 produced this wonderful replica of an actual waka tauihu, and it's not huge, so the detail in this work is quite fine, and he spent a lot of time on this work, and it looks really beautiful. We've got it at Te Pūtahi Toi. And the other balancing of the customary art forms, this work is produced by my Tai Tukurau students in 2018. There's a group of 7 of them enrolled in the program, and they had an exhibition at the Whangarei Art Museum, which took our program north, and a great interest has evolved from the Tai Tukurau, not just because I'm here, but because of what they saw the students producing. And all the pieces, the whāriki and the rāpaki, were woven by one student. Well, she might have had a hand from an auntie or a niece or a nephew. And so this is our staff. Professor Bob Yankay on the left, is highly acknowledged Māori visual arts academic and artist, and His productivity is really high in research and producing works of his own, as well as writing books that we want him to hurry up and do, because our program needs to be resourced by some really good writers who know what they're writing about. And then there's myself, the other time. And then Israel, senior lecturer Israel Birch, who has developed his own unique style of art that is highly glossed and burnished. And I try to remind him every now and then that he's got something that's uniquely his. Edina Arapiri was mention of the documenta. She was one of 4 artists, Mata Aho, who had work in documenta in 2017. I think it was 16 before I came back, or during that time. This is a shot of her and her husband, who's at work quite often, but he's not employed by us. He's one of the family, and it's Rewiti Arapiri. And they were over in Calgary, I think it was, on a residency. And the person who holds us together, the glue of the program, is our technical demonstrator, Clayton Tinsley. He's everywhere. And he's really, he's even had a go at a little bit of teaching, don't tell anyone. And it was really good. It was Karanawai Massey, our senior lecturer, a real powerhouse when it comes to putting us on the map and stream, and revitalising or bringing to life our stream offering, so that we can be effective with our online delivery. So the program is really innovative, and it offers study of contemporary Māori visual arts at a university. It's the only one that is offered at a university in the country, in the whole world. I like speaking about the sweetness of the komara when I can, and I think that the small intake that we have is interesting, because what we produce, or what comes out of this program, is actually quite a really highly visible alumni group, and I'm very proud of that. And I'm hoping that there's more to come out of this program as well. We are based in Palmerston North, and Palmerston North can be quite cold, but it's a good place. It's got lots of good places to go and eat and hang out. And our family is quite close. It's Toyo Hokiapiti. We are very close, but even when we're arguing with each other, we love each other. And the presence of our program on the campus or within Massey University, I think, is felt through the level of research of our staff and our commitment to back to our community, and that community also includes our whānau, our marae, and our hapu and iwi. And I hope that that long may that rain. It's not about us; it's about our people. And we need to be giving back as much as we can, and that's what we encourage our students to do. Go and have a bit of fun at your own expense, and then come back. Nō reira e hoa mā ngāmihi kia koutou anō. I think I've enjoyed myself, and was quite nervous. So nothing to be nervous about, but I know there are lots of gaps, so I'm hoping that there's going to be a few questions, and that there will be some of you who might like to join us sometime in the very near future, if not next semester, soon after that. Kia ora.
Oh, kia ora whaia, that was awesome. I bet you weren't as nervous as what I was when I first met you. I don't know if you remember, but I don't feel as nervous of you now.
Oh, right.
And I really appreciate your kōrero tonight. It's really awesome to see some of the works that the students have put forward and have created. It was actually really awesome hearing about the like going over somebody else's work. I can imagine that would be like that kind of line of like really challenging your comfort, right?
Yes.
But one question I've got for you actually is because you know, I wonder if maybe people think that if they're going to go and do a Māori visual arts program, that it is going to be heavily traditionally based. And, you know, am I going to learn to weave? Am I going to learn to paint and kind of focus on that kind of thing? This clearly isn't. Do you find that the students coming in are bring with them some skills in a contemporary environment, or are they mainly coming in with that kind of traditional focus, or is there a bit of everything?
I think a bit of everything. That, you know, when we first started out, we had students who virtually came off the street with their skills from jobs that they'd had. You know, so they wanted to do some study, and so they turned up with you know, with their background in refrigeration or welding, and they did this fabulous work. And you know, and it was I think it's really important in our world that we acknowledge the knowledge that people come with, and if they're game enough to show it, well, we push it.
So you kind of draw out. You're drawing out their whatever their background is, they can actually create.
Well, I think it's about attitude. Sometimes I think our people come in or go into situations where they don't have much self-esteem, you know, low self-esteem. So when we see the skills that they come with, then we really hammer those.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Hey,
and it grows their confidence to, you know, to say things like, oh, I'm not too bad after all. You know, I can do this, and I'm like, of course you can.
Hey, I've been up to Te Putahi o Toi numerous times, and like when you get around those artworks, you know, some of them are the students' work that are still up on the wall, and some is the staff work, and you can feel that ihi, you know, from whatever the medium is. Like it's all quite all different and all really interesting. One question for you is so you've got the kaupapa Māori there, so you're teaching from, you know, te ao Māori. Is it open to non-Māori, the course?
Yes, it is, and we've had non-Māori in the program coming in intermittently and doing well. It's more though at the postgrad and masters level where the non-Māori come in, and that's where we also get the traditional ones coming in with weaving and carving skills or practice. So what we try to do with those students is to really push their boundaries to make contemporary expression of customary practice. Does that make sense?
That sounds awesome. That sounds cool. So they're kind of they've got some really good art practice already, but in more that kind of traditional space, and you just encourage them to push it out and maybe develop their confidence as a practitioner.
Yeah, and it's a critical thinker as well. So with the rangahau or the research that they do, they develop a knowledge base of being able to articulate the terminology involved in practice, or the creative practice and the creative process is, you know, working towards the creative process, working towards a creative practice that's informed, and also that comes back to you with heaps of mātauranga.
Awesome.
yeah. So I really love this program, and at times I have my fights with it, but it's wonderful to see and hear the feedback from our students from last year and the year before. You know, it's really it's what keeps you going.
I bet. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
awesome. Hey,
Okay.
sorry to interrupt, Fire. Another question, because you know we all have different levels of te reo Māori as well. I mean, mine's pretty limited. I'm Pākehā, but I'm, you know, have a crack at it when I can.
Oh.
What about for those students that are coming in that are rusty, or they don't have they can't kōrero Māori? Like how is that supported? Is the course taught all in Māori? Is it bilingual? How does that work out?
What we try to do first is to make the students comfortable in whatever language they communicate in. I mean, I used to teach in a college in South Auckland where swearing was the first language, and I really enjoyed that. but I was a student also in te reo here at Massey, because I had Bob required Shane and I to do the Māori language course, so I was pretty rusty. And the support that's there from the Māori Studies was just fantastic. We had Whaia Pare Richardson, who used to bring us sponge cake with whipped cream and strawberries, so we feel better, you know, because it can be really daunting if you know, when you get to the age that I am at, and I have really just started te kōrero Māori, engari tuku reo no te kāinga, and so my language is not complex. But it's a, you know, because the language of the kāinga is that you are understood, and so I find great clarity in that. And but the students get a lot of support. Sometimes we miss one or two, and it's about them being ready, really. So we don't have an expectation of our students be speaking fluently by year 3, because, well, I didn't get there. And but to have a sense of what the importance is of having the reo at some stage in your life.
Aye, it's awesome. And I guess like hearing the kupu all the time in the teaching as well.
Yeah, if they're hearing it in the classroom, it becomes more normal. You know, they've become familiar with it, so that they're okay. They can sit in the room with it. But you know, it's about us being able to do that with them comfortably, not being oppressive with it. It's a gift. It's a gift. So we need to treat it like that, and how they receive it. Well, you know, we learn things in different ways. I hope that answers your question.
Karawe, that's awesome. Hey, I think we're going to have to wrap it up now. I think we could probably keep chatting and listening to you definitely for another hour or more. But probably I'll just put it to you if there's anything else that you want to add, Whaia. I really appreciate your kōrero tonight, and you know, reaching out and showing us the works and the program. But I'll just open it to you to close if you want to, or if you want to say anything as a final word.
I think it's important to realise that what was presented tonight is only a small percentage of the output from this program, and to acknowledge, for me anyway, to acknowledge that the differences between the programs of art that we offer in the College of Creative Arts is wonderful in terms of its diversity. And while I sat and listened to the other my other colleagues, I could relate. Well, I should be able to relate that I had mainstream training at Island School of Fine Arts in the 70s. So my education is grounded in Western European centric pedagogy. So this really is a new venture in lots of ways for us to put in place a program of study that's going to include te reo, the political things that we are involved in, so that we have a healthier being. So it's important to do that. But if you don't mind, I'm going to close my my part with a krakia.
Kia ora.
Kia tainga manakitanga a te wā mea ngaro, ki runga ki tēnā o tātou. Kia mahia te hua mākiki, kia toi te kupu, toi te mana, toi te aroha, toi te reo Māori, kia tūturu, kia whakamaua, kia tina, hui e, taeki e.
Ngā mihi whaia. Thanks for joining us.
Ka pai.
Well, that's it for our presentations tonight. Ngā mihi kia koutou anō mō haere mai. Thanks so much for coming along. You can get in touch with us through any of these links that you see on the screen, and we'd be delighted to help you further and help you plan your programs for next year. So you may see us in your schools. You can also reach out to your careers advisors and they can put you in touch with us. But thanks so much for coming along. Ngā mihi, have a good night.